Good evening, everyone. Done with the newspaper? Anything useful?
So yesterday's newspaper
Hmm.
was about already products
Mm-hmm.
and the decreasing of during there was one article about the Indian Standard Time, planning to set to Indian Standard Time. And
That was since 2010.
yesterday there was
Revival again. Okay. Beam stick. Specifically, so as I have said, we can always classify newspaper into two styles. One is prelims and the other one is mains aspect. So if you want to spend some time on anything, do we really want to spend time on mains preparation at this point of time? See, we don't have to run a class for 1 hour just because we have 1 hour, right? Whatever is useful for prelims, we should take away those things, and whatever can be prepared holistically very quickly without any effort should be done. Okay. So if you see today's editorial section, one is about Yogi Adityanath, which is not at all relevant for UPSC. The other one is about China and India's stand. Okay, so we were very clear in understanding the thought process that China wants to do business while not solving the border issue, whereas India wants to solve the border issue first and enter into other discussions. But still, China is one of the largest trading partners of India. And do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing for India? I mean, whatever is happening, is it a good thing or a bad thing for India, analytically speaking? In the context of India-China relations, whatever is happening between India and China now, is it a good thing for India? Okay.
And the dependence on China is still
Heavy. Okay.
as before.
So I think that constant, friction with China is pushing India into Atmanirbhar Bharat mode, and because there is a huge push from the government side, Atmanirbhar is going places. See, you can look at it from 2-3 articles. One is that $400 billion trade article, where if we see the exports have reached 400, we can also see that imports are around 600 billion. It's not like only exports are growing where our imports are coming down. Atmanirbharta is about self-reliance, right? We should import, or we should reduce as many imports as possible, and not everything is coming from China, but there are lot many products which India can identify and stop importing. So are we working in that direction? Our Atmanirbharta is working only for few areas, or within those identified areas, 1 or 2 sectors are doing fine, okay, while the rest are not doing fine. We can think in those lines also. Okay, so it gives a nice opportunity for India to introspect its long-term objective. Okay, even China has realized this game. So China once upon a time used to focus only on export-oriented market. Okay, whatever I will produce, I will dump it on the planet. That was the approach of China. Then China realized, if we do this forever, we are not going to grow. So China is promoting internal consumption. India has always promoted on internal consumption. Okay, now China is trying to export plus internally consume. So that will be a dual advantage for China. So all these things have to be taken into consideration. Now, what Hindu is trying to say is, probably India and China are exchanging notes on Ukraine issue. What should be the way forward for Ukraine issue? But I seriously doubt, any positive outcomes will come in India's direction, even if we discuss something with China, because China has a lot of leverage on Russia, right? So these things are there. And if we even go a step further analyzing the things, the best friend we think, for us is USA at this point of time. And USA is playing a game which is all beneficial for USA. How? If you read this article, okay, Ukraine, the pawn in the power game. Okay, and there is one more article, this one, US cuts a deal with EU for liquid natural gas. Okay, right? So taking into taking these two articles into context, we will understand one thing, that somehow US is actually enjoying this entire drama. US is getting a benefit, not the benefit, but some kind of benefit out of this entire thing. And did you read this article by Thomas Matthew? Today's paper only, right? Yeah. Okay. So what he outrightly says is, Russia was pushed into the war with Ukraine by USA. And time and again, he gives wonderful examples, whether in Latin America, Libya, or other places. Every time America had a benefit by pushing somebody into the war. And the biggest beneficiaries are American defense contractors or defense companies. Okay. So Germany, Japan, and other countries now have openly discussed that we are going to increase our military expenditure. Germany said something like, we are going to double our military expenditure. Okay, where will the contract go to? USA, right? If there is an insecurity in European countries, where will they buy weapons from? Probably USA. If there is no, dependency of, if there is no good relation between India and Russia, probably where will India import its next weapons batch from? Probably USA, right? So there are manifold advantages for USA. So for USA, war is always a business, and it is being clearly proved. Not only that, US is also trying to enter into the export market for oils, right? I mean, liquid natural gas. The dependence again, the article clearly says this. For example, Russia is supplying about 150 BCM, whereas USA can substitute only 15 BCM. USA is no substitute for Russia, but to keep that mission running, yes, to keep that mission running, USA is definitely filling the shoes. Okay, so it's a win-win scenario for USA and its defense contractors. Nobody else is getting any good deal out of this. Countries like India are suffering actually rather than getting benefited. Yes, so we should take US's perspective with a pinch of salt. Okay, and if US is pressurizing India to take a stand on Russia, there can be a very good vested interest, because once India takes a stand on Russia, there is no going back. At least as long as Putin is there, there is no going back. So you won't be asking Russia for new weapons. So you will have to find new markets that might either go to France, Israel, or USA. Right? So this is a bigger picture he portrays. So these are the major takeaways from those two articles. Yes. Someone is waiting. Okay. So he lays down an exit plan for Russia. To end the war, Washington should accept the neutrality of Ukraine. It should broker the peace now. Yes. If more weapons are sent to Ukraine, USA is actually getting benefited from it. Okay, and European countries are moving away from US-centric security architecture. This is what we have discussed time and again. Even South Korea, Japan, and other East Asian countries are also realizing that US-centric architecture may or may not work, because they have clearly seen, right? If something is happening to us, US is not coming to help us, then what should we do? We should have our own weapon system. So probably these are the reasons. Yes, but again, I sincerely doubt that all this is design. Maybe it is working in their favor, and once the war has started, they have seen their business opportunities and fanning the fires. Okay, right? So what he clearly blames is, if Washington has not actually did what it has done, okay, Putin would have taken his ambitions along with him to his grave. Okay, for a fact, I should be very clear here. I didn't realize Putin's age was 69. Okay, so when I look at his photos, nowhere he appears he's like 69, right? Okay, probably we are so used to this white kurtas and all those things. Putin does not look like a 69-year-old. But to his credit, if USA didn't push Ukraine into all these negotiations or send the weapons, probably this war would have never happened. So this article is totally opposite from whatever normal stance we take. The normal stand is Zelensky is the villain. he took this,
decision of joining.
he played with the fire by using the jingoism, hyper-nationalism to come into the power. That backfired. That is normal stand. And we also absolve Russia because Russia was provoked into entering into the war. But this article clearly says we now have two complete pictures. One, USA did completely wrong. USA pushed you to the war corner. Okay, your response could have been better. War for both of you, war is just like an opportunity to fulfill your own vested interests, and nobody is bothered about the Ukrainian people. Okay, that's the major takeaway.
So ethnically, are Ukraine people Russians?
Ethnically, not all Ukraine people are Russians. See, there used to be this entire USSR basket, right? Okay, there is a good amount of Ukrainians, and ethnically they are like Kashmir of USSR. Okay, if you go into the Stalin world history, for easy understanding's sake, Ukrainians are like Kashmir for Russia. They had their own culture, they had their own independence, they had their own even distinct identity. Okay, but they were part of the greater USSR. Okay, and they had a very good fertile lands. Okay, so they were like rice bowl of USSR, the football of USSR. Then what happened is Stalin thought this asymmetrical federalism may not work. The same concept, right? Stalin was very afraid that Ukrainians might start, declaring their own independence. They want their own identity. They should iron out all the identities. So Stalin did a lot of atrocities, and that is when this mixed match of some Russians coming and settling in Ukraine happened. Okay, so Ukraine identity is still Ukrainian. Apart from that, there is a good mix with Russians, and as all of you know, the ethnic Russians settled in some parts of Ukraine, not everywhere. So that is one thing to be remembered.
So there was an article which said that the poverty has increased, but the income inequality has reduced.
Again, we will look at the last line of the article, and I don't want to insult their intelligence, but there is a fine line, right? There is a risk that inequality will return to pre-pandemic levels. Okay, so what is their entire premise? The entire premise of that article is the poor were not making good amount of money, or the lower income families were not making good amount of money because they were not dependent on businesses or service sector, where the rich and affluent were dependent on these two sectors. So that is why income inequality has come down. Okay, and to their credit, they also mentioned this. Okay, they also mentioned that we wanted the inequality to come down as income grew, not by rich making less amount of money. Okay, they are very clear about it. But the thing is, it's not proved anywhere in the world, right? Inequality will definitely increase if everything goes back to normal. If businesses are running fine, everything is working fine, then obviously there is a risk that inequality will return to pre-pandemic. I think it will even accelerate, because the rich were shaken up from their belief that you'll always have money. So till now, probably pre-pandemic, I was making money, I was spending money, making money, spending money, and I was not thinking about investing or having a plan B. Right now that COVID has made you realize that you need to have extra buffer. Probably that will motivate you to save more, or invest more, or make more money. I mean, those who are living on the edge, I'm making decent money, I'm comfortable. I think even those kind of people will be pushed to make extra money, right? So I think inequalities will only accelerate. Throw into that lack of government jobs, the above article. Yes, lack of business opportunity, investment in skills. Okay, people in pandemic who are very comfortable, or who had access to new learnings. Okay, internet, all the comfort zones, right? See, even to order something from Swiggy, you need to have a smartphone, money in your bank account, and a regular salary. So who didn't lose money or lose a regular salary in pandemics? People who are already having the advantage, upskilled people, right? So I think the inequality is only going to accelerate. So it's a situational based article. I don't think we should take it for a as a long-term scale, because it will work only in that scale. After that and before that, things will definitely change. right?
And then with the prelims, so which would be what is genie coefficient and Lorentz curve.
Gini coefficient, Lorentz curve, basic details like even for mains V-shaped recovery, K-shaped recovery. Directly UPSC have asked such questions, right? What is V-shaped recovery? For prelims, I don't think Gini coefficient. I think they have become a bit outdated. Yes, all of us know that. What is zero? If it is one means perfect inequality, or one means perfect equality. That is Gini coefficient, right? Is Lorentz curve a part of Gini coefficient?
Yes, sir.
Is Lorentz curve a part of Gini coefficient? What is Lorentz curve? Inequality or inflation?
Inequality
Inequality
Yes.
only. Gini coefficient?
is also measured income in inequality.
Are they both interlinked? Two different things. By the way, last Saturday's homework, did you find out all the 12 ones? Any TB vaccine? Which one?
BC,
Any other homework?
PSLV, GSLV, and Rajya Sabha Electoral College.
GSLV, what is the significance? Santosh? Oxygen. I asked you about the third stage of oxygen, right? Any significance about oxygen? Srinivas, any significance about oxygen in GSLV?
All stages of solid, liquid, and cryogen. Three stages of fuel. It launches only communication satellites. It carries up to 36 kgs of load. 36,000 kgs.
36,000 kgs. Which one? GSLV? Sure. 36,000 kgs.
Sorry, 5,000 kgs.
I didn't
36,000
know
means altitude.
India was that powerful. Okay. I was like, okay, 36,000 kgs.
Altitude.
We'll send all Indians also along with rockets.
36,000 kilometers.
36,000 kilometers. Okay. Why 36,000 kilometers?
Based in geostation.
36,000 kilometers.
786.
After that, what will happen? What are they called as? Why that particular number? So average we will take 36,000 kilometers. What is 36,000 kilometers generally? Orbit. What orbit? Geo orbits. Below that is me orbits. Below that
Leo.
Leo is between. What is the range of Leo?
16,600 to 2,000.
No, it's more, sir. Not
No,
2,000.
Leo is 2000.
2,000 Leo. After 2,000 up to 5,000 Leo. Up to 3,500, 35,785 kilometers is.
Tell me Leo starting number.
160.
3-digit, I remember that.
160 to 2,000 kilometers.
Okay. So after the class, you can fight among each other. Okay. You can beat Santosh and get some answers out of it. Okay. Yes. So tomorrow, tell me the range of Leo, Meo, and Geo. GEO, not JIO. Okay.
Geo, 35,785, sir. 86
And Leo,
kilometers.
and
And,
160
Meo-
160 to 2,000.
Okay. You need any weapons? No? We'll ask them. Yes. What is this particular article talking about? The era of unemployed India. So what should we do?
Building up social capital.
Building up social capital, then
So it basically talks about how the qualified people are taking the jobs which are not suited according to their qualification, which again is leading to unemployment at lower level. So there is a need of employment generation and building.
what is? Institutes. Okay. So basically, see, first of all, we'll come with the basic prelims questions. What is labor force? Is there a definition for employed?
Yes, sir.
Labor force is people who are searching for the job plus people who are employed. These are the people who consist the labor force.
Okay. The linked topic is female labor force participation
Ratio.
ratio. Okay. These are all main topics. And is there a definition for employed?
Yes, sir. It's
What is the basic measurement for employment?
people who are engaged in an economic activity for at least 1 hour in a span of
What is that called as? What is the technical term?
Periodic labor.
That is the report's name. What is that status name? Okay. I don't think UPSC will go into such depths. Don't worry about it. Is it something related to usual status? Okay. No problem. So what she's basically trying to say is government have various ways to measure unemployment. Okay. In this article, we will take a simple way, that is highly employed people are applying for very low jobs. So that clearly shows, see, we should not take economy only as an economy, right? We should also take it as socio-cultural thing. Why will a PhD guy apply for a group 2 job? Yes or no? So it's a cultural thing in India that government job means you are a stable person. Okay, again, I'm not discounting her argument. Yes, definitely a PhD guy should be doing something in his or her own field. They should be working on R&D, and there should be incentive for their R&D. They should get hired properly. Yes, there should be some respect for PhDs and what topics are being done for PhD. See, just saying PhD does not mean he is doing a very good job, right? There can be a lot of discrepancies. So entire higher education comes under scrutiny. It's very easy. You can go to Delhi and buy thesis out of job shops. They will sell you PhDs, and there are corrupt people who are willing to grant you PhDs. So it may or may not be a benchmark, but there are genuine people who are doing a lot of good things in science, engineering, and other areas. They may or may not be getting the appreciation from the society. That is also one thing. And the socio-cultural feeling that government job means life settled. That will also push a lot of people into getting a government job. So these 2 points we will take along with this particular article. The rest of the points are very, very valid. If someone like BA, BCom, MCom are applying for pune jobs, okay, that clearly shows there is huge amount of mismatch between qualifications and jobs. Okay, and then why people are not finding good jobs? Private sector is working or growing in service orientation. So service sector has less amount of absorption. Yes. And then even the government jobs are just 5% of the entire formal sector. Private sector have limited capacity. Government sector have limited capacity. Along with that, now we have privatization, disinvestment, closing down of PSUs. A lot of things are happening. So in future, government job will be a limited thing. People should find alternative income sources. So that should come only by a lot of entrepreneurship, industry scaling up, MSM is working perfectly. So they should be able to absorb all these people. Our youth should come up and start a lot of startups. But everything is boiling down to service sector. Majority of the startups we see are only service sector. And even there is a saturation point for every industry. Yes, there cannot be more Swiggy delivery boys than the consumers. Yes, every industry have a saturation point, their own advantages, disadvantages. So the long-term growth for India should be in investing skills and industries, but it will take a huge amount of time. If we add some layers to this mains discussion, this is purely mains discussion. Even if industries come, they will be in capital intensive industries rather than labor intensive industries. Okay, automation will take away more jobs. So this kind of articles will only increase in the future rather than decrease. See, with such a lowest standard of definition that unemployment, we still have around 7% of unemployment. Now think about if we actually discuss, are you making a good amount of money to be supporting your own family or yourself? The numbers might skyrocket. Yes, and these kind of things have to be thought out. And we have to take this issue very seriously. The problem is whenever someone writes such articles or brings out such numbers, government will go into defensive mode. Rather than accepting that there is an unemployment problem, they will go into defensive mode saying, unemployment is not so high, it is manageable, it is because of COVID, so on and so forth. We are only postponing the inevitable. One day when all the engineers come out of the colleges, they will realize they don't have good number of jobs. And not everybody is going to engineering colleges, right? We have a huge amount of section which prepares in other areas, BA, BCom, and those people will also be employed. Put in some more fear, artificial intelligence. It will take away even more jobs. So now youth of this country, let's say you are an engineering graduate, you studied in NIT or some reputed college, some decent brain, you will apply for bank jobs, 14,000 bank jobs, 12,000 bank jobs, 13,000 bank jobs, etc., etc. In future, 3-4 years down the line, artificial intelligence will be so good that you actually don't need a bank clerk. Everything can be done through your bank app. Yes, then the hiring will automatically come down. So no, bank auditing, bank taxation, everything, all those employments created around these areas will definitely come down. I am not saying that they will be wiped out, but dependency will come down. Then also unemployment will increase. So as a nation, we have to start teaching our school kids for future. Yes or no? As you all know, Harari says, 20 years down the line, the kids studying in school today don't even know what kind of job they will be doing because those jobs are not even invented. Yes, we don't even know what kind of job we will be doing 10 years down the line. So let alone 20 years. So our national education policy and all these things should be very dynamic in nature. Next, the youth or the people who are in colleges should be made, aware of all these ground realities. They should not be given a rosy picture of, still people cannot be taught input means monitor, output means printer. Okay, so the such crap should be removed away from education system. And upskilling and reskilling should be the new norm. Irrespective of who you are, there should be a mass movement. Like, there used to be movements for learning English. There was a phase for India where everybody is interested in learning English classes, spoken English classes. Okay, so I think coding classes or upskilling classes, reskilling classes should go in the same way. At least people might get some second chance in the life, because once you are already dumb enough, okay, then if you are not even upskilling, you don't actually have a job except for Anna canteen, Amma canteen. Okay. Right? Yes, it's still doable. India has a lot of scope for growth. We have unlimited capacity for growth. Okay, we can grow hugely. We can make good amount of money, but that should go into overall development, not some sections of the society. Yes.
So Bangladesh has developed based on cooperatives and labor-intensive industries. What if we also implement such kind of?
Again, Bangladesh is very good for the textile industry, right? Not the entire textile industry is doing fine. There is a huge abuse, misuse of skilled labor,
And
child
the
labor.
labors are quite cheaper in Bangladesh.
Today and day after tomorrow, day after tomorrow, there is a Bharat Bandh, right? Today and tomorrow, there is a Bharat Bandh going on because all the labor unions are feeling that they are not getting their due. Okay. So, I don't think so. People are actually understanding how the world will be. Yes, within that you need to be very professional. So that professionalism is still missing at every level. Yeah, self-help groups. That is what Prime Minister is promoting, right? One district, one product, or so on and so forth. We'll see, but I'm not sure how much employment these things can create. And again, we have to compete with Bangladesh, Vietnam. There is a early starter advantage, but we can still do it. But if I'm an industrialist, I will prefer mechanized textiles rather than handloom. Again, always remember, it's the socio-economic culture, the cost of living, the usage, all these things will matter. Already in urban India, we are seeing an IKEA culture where people invest in a certain product for 3 or 4 years. Once they move away, they are throwing it away rather than buying something for a long term. In your parents' generation, probably if they invest in a dining table or something, they want it to last forever, 20, 30 years. Okay. Now, as a software engineer, you are working in Pune, you will invest in an IKEA dining table, which will cost you hardly 5,000, 10,000 rupees, which is nothing for you. After you are moving away from Pune, you will sell it in OLX or something. When you go to the new place, again, you will buy something new. You are not, investing in long-term things. So for such a fast-moving culture, we don't expect, handlooms, textiles, these things to thrive unless we make a global market out of such things. There has to be some incentive. Everything is quick and easy, right? So we are creating a quick and easy culture rather than long-lasting culture. So that is why recently I was reading an article why we are no longer creating Einsteins. Okay, so they say that same thing. Even education has become spoon feeding culture, so there is no growth. Yeah.
Can you share that?
I will share the link. Yes. Okay. So these are the major articles, and this one is too much for prelims. The basic concept is compulsory licensing, World Trade Organization. Yes. TRIPS, types of patents, types of intellectual property rights. Okay. What are the types of intellectual property rights that we know of? Copyrights, patents, trademarks,
Trade secrets.
trade secrets, GA tax, GA tax intellectual property rights.
No, sir.
GA tax are not intellectual property rights. Okay, what do GA tax do? How can I give a GA right? Under what basis am I giving GA tax?
Based upon if the product is being produced in that particular
That is fine. India is giving GA tax with certain criteria. What is the international recognition? What is the international recognition for GA tax? Under what or which agreement are we having? Are we empowered to give GA tax? No idea. Homework. Uma? Sorry. Okay, so I'm not saying anything, right? Tomorrow you'll find out and tell me what is the homework. Homework, क्या homework है आज? TRIPS and Leo, Mio, Geo. Then I can add some more homeworks to you. What is Lagrange point to Kirtana? Lagrange. L2. Lagrange point 2. What is so special about Lagrange point 2? And why is it in the news recently?
James Williams.
What is so special about it?
It says it can do time travel.
Which one? Lagrange point 2.
Yes, sir.
James Webb Telescope.
Which is placed at Lagrange point 2.
Okay. The other
It can capture the light.
in other Lagrange point I can capture the light. So where does Lagrange point 2 comes? Between sun and earth or sun and moon? L1 is between sun and earth. L2?
So you posted a picture.
I posted a picture long ago. Nowadays people are learning from Instagram. We cannot do anything, right? We cannot expect.
So is it Nagoya Protocol?
Nagoya Protocol. Which one?
Biopiracy and
That biopiracy is, you went in a whole different direction. Biopiracy is more about TKDL, traditional knowledge digital library. It's TRIPS only. World Trade Organization TRIPS agreements empower the GI tax. Okay. So types you should be aware of. Okay, and basically GI tax. So we all know that India and South Africa have demanded for patent waiver, at least for COVID-related products. But what these people are agreeing or at least trying to negotiate is only on COVID vaccine, not on COVID medicines. That is defeating the entire purpose of the exercise. So in future also some pandemics might arise where intellectual property rights may be a hinder to the progress of the world. So debates like, should science be a barrier to human welfare? Sorry, should intellectual property rights be barrier to human progress, or not having intellectual property rights will affect the research and development in science? Sure. Who is Jonas Salk? Jonas Salk. No idea. Okay, homework. What did Jonas Salk do? Who is Sir Ronald Ross?
When he conducted the peace
Peace experiments.
experiment.
Ronald Ross.
Mendel.
Don't beat her, okay? Tell her softly. You live 1 kilometer away from fever hospital. Every time people say fever hospital, what is the official name of fever hospital?
Your hospital's official name is Putins hospital.
No, fever hospital's official name is Sir Ronald Ross Fever Hospital. He is the person who discovered that mosquitoes are the reason for malaria. Okay, so do you think he was working for intellectual property rights? Jonas Salk, he invented polio vaccine. He never patented it. Okay, so science is not always done for money. Science is done for curiosity, to solve the problems of the world. That can be your justification if you want to. No? Yes. So next time when someone says who is Ronald Ross, at least we'll give credit because we are living under the shadow of fever hospital, walkable distance, stone throw away. No? Yes. So that is one thing. Yes. Medicine Sans Frontiers. Is this a PYQ? Come on, PYQ expert. No? Medicine Sans Frontiers. Have you ever heard about that name? No? You have. That is first of all a PYQ as far as I remember. Do you want me to check? No? Doctors Without Borders. That's their official name. Okay. Doctors Without Borders official name is that. Okay. So that is where prelims questions will fall into the basket. Okay. Right. So he concludes by simply saying, this will further dent the World Trade Organization's relevance and credibility. Nobody is respecting World Trade Organization, right? We are seeing a global decline in the value of institutions. UN, World Trade Organization. This is not new for our class. We have discussed this time and again that if the world is not working for the global welfare, okay, then everybody will look at their own selfish interest. Then again, we will go back to the zone of World War I, World War II, where everybody is scrambling for their own welfare. But because of Second World War, the entire generation, the entire planet have learned a lesson that we should work collectively. Now that lessons are being forgotten. Who should take the lead? Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The country with that principle should take the lead and remind the world why we need to stand united. None of us are safe till all of us are safe. Or same argument. Poverty everywhere is a threat to prosperity everywhere. Same logic. Okay. Any other useful things? Public service delivery has been announced in Punjab as well. So home delivery of ration is announced in Punjab. So the next important mains discussion for you will be public service delivery bills. I told you, right? Governance, good governance, e-governance, now public service delivery. Okay, that is a logical extension. Okay. Basically, this article is not important, but this article gives us a science and tech direction. Google is trying to create something, testing something called as variable refresh rates. Okay. So a few weeks ago in Hindu or Indian Express, I think there was an article saying what is HDR plus 10. Yes, whenever you go to buy a mobile, you might have seen something on the label of the mobile, right? Refresh rate, screen
60
refresh,
hertz.
60 hertz, 90 hertz. In the same way, you see HDR capable, HDR plus 10. Okay, so what does that signify?
It talks about camera mode.
HDR 10 is camera or screen.
Right. Basic resolution.
We speak about megapixels and focal lengths
Yes.
for cameras, right? When it comes to screen, we talk about full HD, OLED panels. See, all these are prelims questions. What is difference between OLED and LED? There is LED, there is OLED. What is difference between LED and OLED? Okay. Then in your mobile, you have something called as night mode. Yes, what is it? When it comes, when it's night, we will on the night mode. In the morning, day mode. What is night mode? See, all these are logical questions, right? How many of your mobiles have NFC? Near field communication. Do we use NFC?
These days, like debit cards.
Okay. Tap and go debit cards are basically NFC based, more or less. Or they can also be RFID based. Yes. Then HDR. How many of your mobiles are HDR plus 10? HDR. No? In on the screen. What is HDR? And then what is difference between OLED and LED? Okay. Why do you get a orange tinge on your mobile when you on your night mode? Did you notice? When you activate, say there is dark mode and light mode, that is theme. It will just make your themes black or white. That is not night mode. Night mode is a feature in some phones where if you on night mode, you'll get an orangey tinge on the screen. The screen will be more like orangish. Okay. Why is it? Is there any mains question recently related to that?
Blue LED.
Basically, science says that blue LED spoils your sleep. So before sleeping, you are not supposed to look at your mobiles. So even if you have to use it, if you use night mode, it will bring this red or orange text where the impact of blue LED will be reduced. Okay. So like this, you need to at least know what are the basics that you see in the mobile. Yes. Again, 60 hertz or 90 hertz. Yes, or 120 hertz. Now people are bringing mobiles with 144 hertz. Yes. No. Green button, red button. Kala green button, nahi utana hai, red button. हाँ. WhatsApp. Only 3 things, right? Is your mobile capable of GLONASS? GLONASS.
No, sir. Normal GPU.
Sure.
Yes.
Do you know by specification or you just guessing?
No, sir. I know this.
You know. Okay. What about the rest of you? Whatever someone says. Same brand phone? Oh, then iPhone does not supply GLONASS.
Which are made in India.
Oh.
Assembled in India, do not support GLONASS.
Okay.
Mine doesn't, sir.
Yeah, doesn't sure. Tested. Went to Russia. Okay. So when will you tell me answers to all these questions? Yes. UPSC beats us with simple common sense. Okay. So what is this variable refresh rate? Refresh rate is how many times your screen gets refreshed. For example, my mobile is 120 hertz. Okay. So that means there is a visible difference when you scroll your app drawer, right? The moment you scroll it, your screen will go like a buttery smooth flow. If you're at 60 hertz, it will go very slow. So the more the refresh rate, the better for gaming. So we need to at least know this because we are moving into a world where higher refresh rates are norm for gaming industry. Gaming industry, VRR, all these things will be a norm. At least we should have a basic idea of this particular thought process. Okay. And again, he gets into very technicalities, but not important for UPSC. Okay. Then this LTPO, not useful for UPSC. There is LTPO screens which are which are now available in high-end mobiles. Okay, LTPO screens. I think
ROG phones, Asus.
Rogue is bringing LTPO. Rogue Ultra, Samsung Ultra. I think even MI. No, OnePlus 10.
Huawei, sir. Huawei.
Okay, OnePlus 10 is also bringing LTPO screens. The advantage is, see, these are all smart screens, like from 1 Hz to 120 Hz. They can refresh at any rate. So if a worst case scenario, really worst case scenario, prelims question comes, free screen refresh rates are not changeable. It is very much possible. Fluctuation can happen. Okay. Again, as I said, don't worry about too much technicalities, but basically difference between LED, OLED, you should know. Then what else is there? HDR, HDR10 plus. Okay, this much you should know. The rest all is subjective. If you know, it's fine. If you don't know, it's totally okay. Right. There is one more interesting articles where central government has said that in a concurrent power, both state and central governments can identify minorities. Okay, so if a particular religious community is minority in that state, the state can declare Hindus as minorities in that particular state. So he brings a discussion about Lakshadweep, Ladakh, Mizoram, Kashmir, Nagaland, and other places where a particular community can be discussed as declared as minorities. Okay, what will happen then? Minorities can have their own educational institutions. For example, Lakshadweep have around 95+% of Muslims. So Hindus in Lakshadweep can be declared as minorities. So this article basically talks about certain groups like Judaism, Bahaism, right, and Hinduism. They also discuss about Jews in Maharashtra. Jews as minorities. Okay, so then you can establish your own institutions. Okay, we'll see how it goes. This is just a statement. They're responding to a particular case, right? But I think this is a center stance, and there is no harm in that, right? I mean, at least technically speaking. The $400 billion trade we have seen. Prime Minister is promoting local for vocal for local or local to global. We need to start selling more Indian goods at global level. Then only we can have more market. These are the major articles. No prelims perspective as such. If I find anything, we will make it some questions out of it.
Road to
Times
of India.
Yeah. Yes. Anything else? So again, as I said, you should not only be obsessed about prelims, right? Because just clearing prelims is not the end goal. Once you clear prelims, you should have some content to write in mains. Okay, so that is why whenever you are reading something for prelims, if you find something really valuable, value addition towards mains point, also make a highlight out of it or note down that I have to come back after mains. Just don't go into the total bits and pieces mode. Okay, always have an open mind till prelims. At least in May 1st week or May 1st, you should read newspapers. After that, you can entirely enter into revision mode and all those things. Because people will start reading newspapers from February only. But actually, this is a period where UPSC will pick up a lot of questions. Okay. Yes. Any questions?
Sir, last year in mains they have asked questions on national disaster management policy. On other specific government will release a policy for addressing something. Like for example, recently they released some tourism policy. So these kind of things are they important? Right?
For prelims,
Not for prelims. Sir.
again, it depends. See, you will anyhow read it in the disaster management, right?
Yeah.
When you read disaster management topics and all those things, you'll read what are the provisions of national disaster management policy. So you should overlap it with something. Let's say you're preparing for essay or GS paper 3 tourism, probably then if it is in the news, or else you don't have to worry about it.
Kerala Silver Line project is in continuous news. Should we expect questions on it?
Either for mains or interview, not for prelims.
Yes, sir, mains.
Mains.
Like, on what lines?
Is it worth to have a railway line destroying so much amount of ecosystem? Which one should be prioritized? Are there any middle path? Is there any middle path? Right. So should we have development and ecosystem both go hand in hand? Do Kerala have alternative modes of transport? Should they be encouraged, like inland waterways, so on and so forth? We'll see once the monsoons pass through Kerala. If there are no floods, no such things, then Kerala government might rethink. If Kerala government is going to face a lot of problems every time there is a flood or a monsoon, then what is the point of having such a project?
Not even the gauge that Indian Railway runs. Even small gauge, smaller gauge.
Narrow gauge and broad gauge, right? Yes. Anything else? That's it. Okay. So I will end the session here then.